Good morning, everyone. Please, panelists, please join me, Tatiana. Yeah. So time is ticking. Good morning. Good morning, everyone. I must say, in my little career compared to some of my panelists, I'm super excited to have visionaries and change makers on the stage tonight. We've heard and talked a lot in the industry around technology, so I want to take a slightly different spin to the topic. Yes, the topic is convergence, technology, and so forth. Super excited to have Michael Levie, a true disruptor in the industry, arguably the biggest disruptor in the industry so far, but also Karan, who represents Oyo, the next big thing in terms of disruption on the stage, and Tatiana, the next big disruptor, right? So this is really quite amazing. I think a very powerful dynamic we have on the stage. We will be talking about technology, but in a more integrated context, because it has a lot of impact on the commercial models, business models, and so forth. I don't want to do massive introductions because many don't need one, but I would want to ask Michael, what's your relevance of being on this stage here today?
Well, I think sharing some maybe knowledge experience that you have, and I think that what happened in the past is interesting, but what happens in the future is really where it happens. And if we can impact that, then that would be amazing.
Thank you. Tatiana, what's your take on your relevance on this topic today?
I think there is a lot of question marks, a lot of controversy about. One, I represent TONOMUS, which is the tech and digital arm of NEOM. But there is a lot of question. We are poising ourselves to be the first cognitive city in the world. A lot of people come and ask, what do you mean cognitive? What is NEOM doing about it? What are hotels doing about it? What is tourism doing about it? So I think it's the right time to shed a little bit of light of what does that mean in a tactical level. I think there is a very, let's call it, safe balance between dreaming and doing, and this is what we've been doing. So I think we want to just share with the wider audience what does that look like, how can that be exported to the wider kingdom, but how can we take this also globally?
Thank you, Tatiana. Karan.
Well, Marco, could you ask that question? Oyo, being a tech hospitality company, not a asset-heavy hotelier organization, I believe the relevance largely would be what we have been doing for such a long time, about 10 years now, empowering small and medium-sized hotel owners by full-stack technological products to go out there, get more customers, get more revenues. And with the changing landscape of technology, AI, machine learning, etc., all coming in, I believe we are at the cusp of how we leverage all these new technologies into the hospitality. So excited to hear more about this from the co-panelists and see how we take it forward.
Thank you, Karan. And of course, as many of you would know, we have the two kind of spectrums, Citizen M being also a heavy real estate play, whereas Oyo is completely asset light. NEOM will be both as well. Michael, in driving here this morning, you made a great point around these very distinctly different business models, right? One being very asset light. We see that in what Oyo does. Many others, especially also in the service department, are coming into that space. Talking to Sonder and so forth. What's your take from a business model perspective in the context of technology? Of course, you representing to some extent a very asset-heavy entity, right?
Yeah, I think that you know, whichever business model you take, you need to be consistent with it. And there's many that try to, you know, sort of dip in both sides, but that doesn't work in my belief. We chose for asset heavy because we wanted to have full control over the brand. And in the spaces where we wanted to grow, we thought that was relevant because we have three plays. We're a developer, we're an asset owner, and we are a hotel operator. So, you know, we created three areas, if you wish. I do believe in the asset light as well, because I think you're way more agile, and I think that if you look at contemporary organizations, They are more tech-based, more agile, and obviously if you're asset heavy, you invest for the coming 40, 50 years into an asset. So you better get everything right.
Thank you, Michael. He mentioned a great point. He wants to be in control of the full customer experience, the full value chain, right? The full experience. How do you deal with that? And especially, how do you now apply, we heard it before, amazing what everyone in the industry is doing with AI and so forth. How do you, Oyo, address exactly that brand perception and at the end of the day, customer satisfaction and on and so forth, and in a context of technology, of course?
So good you mentioned that, Marco. So I'll break it into two parts. One is the use of AI, which I'll come to later. First is being the asset part of it, how do we control the value chain? See, the contribution starts from identifying that hospitality and real estate are two broken pieces. You have to understand, largely from unbranded hotel owners, what is that they need, what is that they lack, and how can technology work towards equipping them with that technology stack which comes from a global experience. Right? Not everybody has an access to the facilities or technology that a citizen might have in the system. So that is one where the need comes in. More relevant to this discussion is the role of AI and technology. So in the value chain, keeping it brief, I'll talk about how AI does its contribution through Oyo on both sides. One is the patron side, which is our hotel owners, and one is the consumer side, which is our guest. For the patrons, a small example could be, I will not talk about the ChatGPT driven chatbots, which is now a very common practice. I will talk about something which is a proprietary technology to Oyo. Let's say our dynamic pricing algo, which is AI and machine learning driven, can actually analyze 100,000 data points in an hour, change 6 million price computations globally for Oyo properties. So that's the essence of how fast things are doing, and the prices are being changed to optimize revenue for the hotel owners. For the guests, I'm not sure if you're aware, but very recently Oyo launched ChatGPT-based self-check-in in our UK properties. Now, what that does is we aim at simple 3 metrics: a self-check-in time of 5 minutes, no human interface, saving the front desk operation cost of the hotel by about 70%, which close to is about £60,000 a year for our budget hotels in UK. And the third, very important, is generative AI. Whereas the consumers then get recommendations which are personalized to their choices, personalized to their needs, more customized to their local language. They might be traveling to a place where they don't know the local language. So AI, the role of technology, right from how it leverages the patron or the hotel's performance to how it increases the guest satisfaction and convenience. I think that's the summation of that broken piece of real estate and hospitality I was talking about.
Right. Thank you, Karan. Tatiana, hearing Michael and Karan, they're doing it as we speak, right? You have the biggest clean slate opportunity, blue ocean galore on the planet. Amazing, but also daunting, right?
Correct.
What do you take away? What do you, from Autonomous, working very closely, of course, with NEOM hotels, all the regions and so forth, what do you take away there? What is your clear focus?
Thanks, Marco, for the question. I'll just add a level of complication. So what Karan was saying is it's already complicated as it is within hospitality. I'll add a couple of levels of complication there. Data. Data is a very big one. I mean, everyone speaks AI. It's the buzzword. Everyone wants generative AI. Everyone wants to have ChatGPT functionality on their phone. But you have to ask yourself, is it possible? I mean, if you don't actually have access to data, can you make it happen? So our first mandate is actually making sure, how do you collect the data? How can you create this golden customer record? And then we don't call it only a guest record. We're not going to only look in NEOM at a guest coming. We're looking at it as a visitor. So it's an entire ecosystem. So how can you actually capture this golden record? How can you utilize it? Level of complication I'm going to add is the cultural complication. The Arabic speaking. I'm Lebanese. I speak my dialect, which probably half the Emiratis will not understand. They will call it slang. Half the actual Fusha speakers will not understand. How can you adapt? Is it possible? If you actually test the accuracy of ChatGPT or any open source platform that you have now, the accuracy for Arabic speakers is very low because there is the cultural context that is completely missing. So what are we doing? So within TONOMUS, we've created two. It's not just a dream. It's actually live. We have 2 products. Aramis, which is our Arabic-speaking LLM that's being trained on billions of parameters as we speak. And we have Safana, which is our AI avatar that's representing the Saudi culture sitting on top of Aramis. And this is going to be powering the cognitive city of NEOM. So is it an easy feat? No, we're starting with no data. So what do? We start training on synthetic data, we start mapping personas, we start expecting and assuming on behalf of what we believe people coming into NEOM are going to look like from a persona point of view. Is it an easy feat? No, but you know, it's the biggest opportunity I've actually seen happening around the world, because it's very rare that you get inspirational leadership, great vision, good investments. So the panelists before us were being asked, do you actually have buy-in? We have buy-in, we have investments, and you're really powered by the best people. So put all these pillars together, it will work. So the products are out in the market within TONOMUS. We are testing them in NEOM, but we don't see the future only being there. We see NEOM being the first adopter, but we actually see the potential of exporting this within the kingdom.
Scaling it up.
And scaling it up. I think there is need for the GCC to at least, I wouldn't call us followers, I wouldn't call us at the forefront of technology in the past. It's a very big pride for us to say, for the first time, we're actually at the forefront. People will adopt what we are offering, and we're not going to actually start adopting what the Western world is doing. So it's a very different approach to what we're aiming to achieve.
I firmly believe what is happening in the kingdom, taking a global view, will have an impact globally, not just for the kingdom and the region. One point I would want to get a little geeky though, it's the cognitive city. Not many of us are engaging as much with NEOM, and it's the big buzzword, right?
Correct.
Can you add some flavor, some tangible sort of, what is it really, right? Because I do believe that's where NEOM, starting from scratch, has the real opportunity to bake it into the physical realm, combining that with the customer journey, the data and so forth. It all kind of comes together, right? That's how I would explain it to my kids, but please elaborate on that.
I'll be very honest with you. So when I was actually being recruited for the role, that was my first question. It was coined. It was all over social media. So what do you actually mean cognitive? What does it mean? I'm a biotechnologist. Cognitive means different, means neurological sciences. It means the brain. So what do we mean? I think it's the big shift from being smart, which has been adopted by other industries for a very long time, to becoming really predictive, really analytic. So the fact of being cognitive means we want to be aware. We want to have those neural networks of actually knowing what you want before you know it. Now, the question is, do we act on it or not? That's the big question. Everyone uses the word hyper-personalization. What do we mean by hyper-personalization? Did you actually ask guests that we want to know you to this nitty-gritty detail? I think two things I'll mention here. There is a very sensitive balance between being intrusive and being hyper-personalized. Sometimes you don't want your guests to know that you know this much about them. Data privacy, data utilization. But what we want to do is empower our teams from the lowest levels to the highest levels to know as much as possible, as much as you actually want to share.
Right.
So the data is going to be owned by the visitor. That's never been seen before. So technically, everyone asks who owns the data? Owner, asset manager, asset operator. We're going to have the ownership of the data sit with the actual visitor by creating a distributed identity platform.
Right.
So
blockchain.
I wouldn't call it, it's Web3 technology.
Okay.
So it's Web3 technology with future blockchain technology. So you'll own the data. You'll allow as much access to data as you want, and based on how much you give us, we will act upon it. Yeah, we will act upon it. So everything is within your control, and this is what we mean by cognitive. If you tell us that, yes, you're okay with us assuming that you like your black Americano at 8 a.m., we're going to give you your black Americano at 8 a.m. If you don't want us to assume, we're going to wow you with a cappuccino that might give you lactose intolerance. Who knows?
Michael is dying to weigh in on that one.
I was just thinking of how do we bridge the gap? Because in the earlier panel, you heard hoteliers talking about, keyless entry. Half of the audience thinks, oh, that's wow, but half of us fall asleep on it already. And then you hear Rat talking about really significant applications of technology changing and shaping an organization. And all of a sudden at this panel, we're at a complete different stratosphere. And what I think is that what we need to realize is that if you look at most industries, we see that technology, data, and the ability to move forward with what is coming available to us is adapted. And I, as consumer, have basically everything being shaped around me, whereas we as an industry are still completely impotent. We cannot move forward because we do not have the data, we do not have enriched gas profiles, we cannot have a digital conversation, yet we're talking about these aspirations. So you see that a few with a clean slate can really make the difference. You see that there are movers that are in tech shapes organizations that really can make the difference. And I think that what we tried to do early on, we started 18 years ago, people forget that.
Yes.
We really laid the basis to be able to keep up. So the technology we started with and where we are today are light years apart. So how do I set myself up for success to have that ever changing evolution, but that evolution that is speeding up at a rapid pace? How do I stay relevant in that space? I think that is a core. Bridging that gap is going to be a big thing.
100%. So you said it, 18 years, then comes along Oyo, to some extent disrupting you. Who's going to disrupt Oyo?
Well, will not be surprised. Anybody, anywhere. Maybe a few guys sitting over a laptop, getting into the metaverse, thinking about things which we have not thought of. So it's an ever-changing world. What we need to be clear about is where we go from here next. As I said, a development and continuous improvement in what we have done in the last 10 years for the next 20 years would be the key. Talking about AI, for an example, I was listening to a podcast driving from Dubai to Abu Dhabi today morning. We have ample time, so I just utilized it. It was talking about the ongoing debate of, this has reference to workforce training into AI, ongoing debate of would AI be replacing humans in the workforce. And the author said a very, very nice thing that I resonated with, and I would quote him when he said, I don't think AI would replace humans going forward, but people who can use AI better would replace people who don't. So what it tells us is how well can we equip, train, and ensure that the latest advancements are being cultivated into what we are trying to make as new processes going forward. So till the time we are doing that continuously, as a tech-heavy company, we tend to do that. COVID gave us an opportunity to introspect and further deep dive into how we can minimize human interventions and advance more technology. So disruptions is the name of the game. It happens every day. Very difficult to say who can disrupt who, but I say if you are keeping up to the pace, I think you're doing it right.
Please, Michael.
Mark, you started out by saying asset light and asset heavy.
Yep.
We always have to remember that those investing in the real estate own it for 40, 50 years and beyond. Yes, there's always an exit opportunity, I get that. But you need to get it right in the beginning, because you make a mistake in that early sequence, you might really line yourself up for a big mistake. And I think that the ability of changing and, let's say, the more asset-light companies, where's the new one? Well, look what is happening in the apart hotel space, the Zonders of the world. Look what is happening in many distribution spaces. They have changed and significantly impacted the real estate game. And I do believe it's that balance, and we need to be more articulate, and we need to decide more who we are. And if we cannot decide and differentiate ourselves with who we are, then I don't care what technology you put over it or what you do as a destination. You need to be loud and clear who you are.
Yet still, on exactly that point, and in discussing, preparing for this panel, Karan, you mentioned how Oyo is really starting to, not only on the point of service departments, you're expanding your value proposition, but you're also going much deeper into the value chain, a data-driven proposition for developers and on and so forth. Would you mind elaborating on that? Because I think there's a lot of learnings here, how the operators with the data that you have can make smarter data-driven decisions. And indeed, to Michael's point, you're building for decades, the developer. How do you support them in that decision-making?
See, absolutely, very, very important. Predictive analysis is something which is the backbone of any technology. Going forward, we call it generative AI, but I talk about conventional technology and how do we predict from what we have learned and the trends that we have mined. So when I talk about 170,000 storefronts globally, 6 billion price changes, 100 million plus downloaded apps for OYO. Example, it is a huge data set which has been mined, analyzed, and looked at over the last 10 years. Now, when we do that, there are some learnings which come up, which helps us predict what are the future trends. We to talk about service apartments. It gave us a very, very clear direction to steer into why can't we help hotel owners? Why can't we help real estate residential apartment owners? How can we generate more revenue and maximize yield on the investments they have done on their real estate properties? So that data helps us see, and when it is clubbed with what are the changing trends of consumer behavior. Today, you look at serviced apartments being uh, very high in demand, especially at leisure destinations, beach destinations, mountains, etc., where people like to stay into something which they call this, their home for a small time, rather than being confined into a bedroom, which is a hotel room. But the important point here, which Tatiana and me were discussing before the discussion, was they can coexist. Yes, they don't cannibalize. The consumers are different. What OYO or any company would see as an opportunity is there is a set of consumers or there is a set of owners who want a yield, who want a good home experience. Why don't we enable our technology to ensure they're able to do that? So yes, predictive analysis is something which is, I would say, one of the most critical elements today in terms of how we are using data to predict what we do for in the future.
Thank you, Karan. Tatiana,
can
maybe
I just-
especially, yes, absolutely.
I
on the
just want to add
convergence,
to his point two things. I think one on saying consumer behavior. I think from life cycle of interaction with our guests, if we're talking hospitality only, it's actually sad because of how much data we've collected in the past and what the learnings are that we can take from OYO. If you go now to any e-commerce website, you buy, I don't know, you buy a new rug for your house. It'll tell you people like you have done X, Y, Z. Your interaction on any e-commerce website is, I don't know, maybe 5 minutes, and they know this much about you. Our guests spend 3 nights, 4 nights, 5 nights. They go to the spa, they eat in our restaurants, they go to our leisure destinations. We don't know much about them. So in terms of opportunities, we have as an industry, more opportunity than potentially any other industry. The other industry that I would think would collect more data than us is the healthcare industry, PII information, because you have to give it to them. Are we using it properly? Not really. So to Karan's point on consumer behavior, we know a lot about you. We just, do we capture it properly? Do we keep it properly? And do we use it properly? The answer is no, no, no. And it's not out of fault of vision or appetite. It's just the systems historically haven't helped us. So I think it's a lot of education that's required.
Sure.
I think there is a lot of ego that needs to be broken down in the industry. And I think a third thing is we really need to stop shying away from the challenges. It's scary. It's really scary. I'm telling you, I mean, working for the project I work from, if I tell you, yeah, it's great and I'm smiling every day, I'd be lying. I'm scared. It's scary. I have anxiety. I wake up overnight like I'm scared. And if you're not, then you're not doing the right things. AI is actually scary. And we've discussed this. We've said maybe we touch upon it, maybe we don't. Sustainability, it's a question. We can discuss this in more details.
Absolutely.
It's very costly.
Yes, it is.
Everyone who's come and any panel over the past 2 days has said we're going to adopt AI. It's very costly. Compute power is
And it
extreme.
consumes a lot of electricity.
It consumes electricity. It is a very skilled few people in the world. How many data engineers are in hospitality or data scientists? Not many. So it does consume a lot of compute power. It needs a lot of investments. Go sell it to any hospitality operator. We work with them. No one has the appetite to spend tens of millions of dollars doing it. So you need sometimes a player to come say, listen, I'll do it. I will help create this because I have the capability to do it, but you'll adopt it. But I really think we need to stop shying away from the challenges. Everyone asks, what's the future of AI? Not because we have access to ChatGPT do we actually understand it. I watched on a flight back from San Francisco last week, everyone's saying, did you watch Megan, this Megan? I said, listen, I'm in the tech field. I need to watch Megan just to be able to talk to people. Otherwise, I feel a little ignorant. I watched Megan, and it freaked the hell out of me for 10 hours on that flight. I asked myself, are there dangers to AI? Yes. Are we putting the right guidelines into place? Question mark. So there is a lot of things that I believe we need to stop shying away from and take the bull by the horn. And I think if we can do this tactically, then we're more equipped in the future.
Michael, how are you attacking that? Right? And there's a future-proofing aspect of it.
Taking the bull by the horn, I think that one of the biggest obstacles for the industry is that the technology was not there to help us. Today, there's technology to aid us. So middleware allows you to neutralize, legacy systems and move forward and unlock that data and get enriched profiles. So I think that there are platforms for limited service, and there's great enterprise systems right now out there that actually allow us to get to the next step. Bridging the gap, and I come back to that, is that our industry has been bogged down by impossibilities because the PMS obstructed everything because they were not connectors. We have worked for years, decades, I should say, on workarounds. How do you untangle that spaghetti of workarounds? So it's not anymore that the technology is not there. It's not anymore that we cannot move forward. How do I untangle what is there? And current teams cannot do that. So if you have a CIO, CTO, and a tech team, they cannot do it. You need project management to do that. That's what future thinking, and that's how future organizations get there. So it's project management to untangle it. You need to bring in the teams to do it and let the others keep on doing what they're doing. And then only once you have made the transition, the next thing happens, and that's the scariest thing that most organizations cannot cope with, is the mind shift. Because you go from obstruction thinking to the world of possibilities. And not the same people that resolve obstruction thinking are remotely capable of getting to the world of possibilities. And that's the mind shift that I think is this most scary. So where is the future coming from? Not from within the industry, because we have been trying to solve impossible things. So we need people to really think with us or on our behalf to get that to that next stage, but they do not always understand our business. We're still in the hospitality business, so it's a dilemma.
What a statement! Esteemed audience, any questions at any time? I want to please open up. We got a couple of minutes left. There's one at the back. I think, yeah, please.
How come that none of the large hotel operators have ever invested in this kind of technologies what you are speaking about the Marriott technology is the highest in the country? Why have they never taken that challenge? And they're just starting now.
No, I believe they have. But, the fragmentation in our industry, these large guys, are basically HMAs and franchise systems, right? So the ownership needs to invest in it. And they say, listen, you change your mind 10 times in a week. So what do you want me to invest in? When you've made up your mind, let me know. And we have not been able to make up our minds because the technology to leverage that gap was never there. Today it's there. But now I have to say that the larger chains have themselves the biggest problem in making that mind shift. And let's face it, the OTAs, the OYOs, the Sonders, they have made that gap because they are like NEOM and autonomous. They're starting with a clean slate and they figure it out. So it is the thinking that is wrong, from obstruction thinking to people that are creating new blue oceans.
Another question, maybe one more, and then I want to have some closing predictions. Mr. Keane.
You talk about really needing to draw in mindsets from other industries to lead technology within hospitality. But what is this industry's unique selling point to draw in young, brilliant minds from tech, from sustainability, from other industries to get them to actually believe that there's purpose and growth within this one?
Great question. I'll allow myself to take myself as a first example. So I'm a biotechnologist and bioinformatician by training. By heart, I'm a hotelier yet again and again. So what you need is strong visionary leadership. Again, this is what I'm saying about the industry. People follow people. People don't follow organizations. So you need strong leadership. And you need a first mover. When you see players like Oyos, when you see players like Saunders, when you see even the Airbnbs and Bs of the world that have changed the ecosystem, then you grow the appetite to want to be part of it. So when you see the success stories, then you want to be part of this vision. I think there is a lot of belief in the industry. I think the next few years are going to show a massive change and disruption, and this will attract even more and more talent into it.
Thank you, Tatiana. Very unswiss of me, but please, yes.
Can I add one thing? earlier on, I mentioned the values and the culture. What do we stand for as whether a destination, a chain, a hotel? If we do not differentiate ourselves in the flavor who we are, we're lost. And this industry is lost. So we are not getting the right people, unfortunately. So it's a very eloquent question. Thank you.
We're going to run over a little bit, sorry, on Swiss, but Karan, what will we be discussing on stages like that in 5 or even 10 years' time?
Well, difficult to predict, but easy to guess and assume. So we will be talking about things, what we are planning to develop now on how they have been executed in the last 5 to 10 years. That is what I think we should discuss. A lot of things are changing, right from when we talked about consumer behavior. I mean, digital first experience, convenience, personalization. How, as Tatiana very rightly mentioned, are we getting intrusive? How best can we take the best of data and ensure that we are able to cater to the needs of a consumer through tech without being intrusive? Is a great step forward. And then I would say accommodation. I was just allow me 10 seconds, and I was painting a picture in my head. I was talking to somebody in RTA, and autonomous taxis are becoming a very, very close reality in the very near future in the UAE. So there's a journey that painted in my mind, which talked about somebody landing from an aircraft, doing a retina-based immigration process, picking up a digitally tagged luggage, moving out into an autonomous taxi, doing a self-check-in through a keyless entry into a hotel. So he's landed into a new country and he's not even met one person.
One person, yeah.
So maybe this is what we would be talking about in the next 5 to 10 years.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Michael, Tatiana, your predictions.
Ladies first.
Ladies first.
I think we're going to be surprised. The fact that I don't really know what we're going to be talking about actually is exciting, because I know we're going to be surprised. If you ask us 20 years ago, I mean, I was still quite young, if phones are going to take over, if iPhones are going to take over, no, I wouldn't have said yes. When you see BlackBerry, the movie, you see they were on a roll, and then you see a quick disruption ruined everything for them. So I think we're going to sit back and think what we thought was possible. Did it happen? I don't know. But I really think in the next few years, when you look at hospitality becoming less about accommodation, more about experience, more tech-first, human-led, tech-enabled, the way that we're looking at it now, we're going to get surprised. I really don't know what tech has for us in the future, but I think the pleasantry of surprise is what I'm looking forward to.
Amazing. Mr. Levie, final wise words?
I think that in the past we have been talking about high touch and high tech and how they are opposites. Then we started to figure out, oh, maybe they work hand in glove. I think that what is going to be in the future is the dance of high tech, high touch. Because without the culture, without knowing who we are and what we do and how we have a relationship with our customer and the rest of the world, we can do anything we want in high tech and it's not going to make the difference. So I think it is that beautiful balance and us understanding that it is there. And, being a little bit closer to NEOM, to see that dance happening there so well, understanding what the culture is, but understanding that sustainability and technology in the future is going to make, I really think that's going to be in many panels to come, is how do we merge that? And that is left brain and right brain together. So go and find it. Good luck.
Please join me in giving a big round of applause. Thank you so much, Tatiana, Michael, Karan. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark.